I reached infinite rank in just 4 days after literally installing and learning Marvel Snap on global release. This is the pool 1 deck that I used. I call it Double Trouble. The main game plan is to take control of one lane with our early game cards, and then finish the game with a Moon Girl and double Devil Dinosaur combo, or some other combination of Dino, Iron Man, and America Chavez. We want to do this by playing cards that either exude board presence or generate value by creating more cards right back into our hand. Let me explain the core cards in the deck. The two main cards are Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Moon Girl doubles the cards in your hand, synergizing perfectly with the Dino, and when the situation is right, you can duplicate the Dino itself, exerting maximum pressure on the board on turns 5 and 6 by playing two 15-power Dinos back to back. This will frustrate your opponents so much that they will want to bang their head on their table. Double Trouble. Victory. What happens if we don't draw Moon Girl, you may ask? Well, that's not a problem, because we have a gajillion different other ways to maintain our hand size. Mantis, Cable, Sentinel, White Queen. Who's the mayor of Value Town? It's us now. How do we fill out the early game? Well, with Angela, Nightcrawler, and Ant-Man. These cards need no introduction. You have no trouble filling up a lane, giving Angela an immense amount of power. Nightcrawler is such a versatile and flexible card, especially when comboed with Angela. You can get the buff, then move right out to make room for more. And Ant-Man, 4 power for 1 mana? What? Is it even a surprise that these 3 cards are the 3 most common cards played across all decks? Victory. Now that the early game is dealt with, what about late game? Well, if the Dino isn't enough for you, here's Iron Man. This card is bonkers and a half. Iron Man will take your opponent by surprise and completely win a lane for you. Iron Man makes onions cry. Iron Man beats the sun in a staring contest. In fact, I heard COVID had to get an Iron Man vaccine. Victory. And last but not least, America Chavez, the perfect deck thinner. She increases the chance you draw both Moon Girl and Dino by turn 4 from 32% to 38%. And she's always there for you when you just need that last stretch of power. What's not to love about this card? Victory. Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention the Punisher. It's a decent card. A decent 3-drop that discourages your opponent from contesting the lane. But it's replaceable. Maybe you want to prank some fools by playing Elektra. Maybe you don't like the featured hot location and want to replace it with Scarlet Witch. Or maybe on-reveal decks are way too rampant and you need the doggo. This slot is very flexible. You could even put Onslaught in the deck, although I wouldn't recommend it because Onslaught and Iron Man or Onslaught and Dino is way overkill and makes the deck a bit too top heavy for my liking. Victory. Here are a few tips and tricks for playing this deck. The most important thing to keep in mind when playing Moon Girl is that you can only have 7 cards in your hand in total. So if you want to duplicate your Dino, you need to make sure that there's enough room to do so. In this example, we'll have 5 cards in hand after playing Moon Girl, and Dino will be the second card from the left, so the Dino will barely make it. Sometimes you don't want to play a 1-drop on turn 1 if you have Angela in your hand. Since we don't run many 3-drops, we can usually play a 2-drop plus a 1-drop on turn 3 to buff up Angela. By doing this, we also dodge whatever Mantis or Rocket Raccoon nonsense our opponents may have. One last tip for the road, don't be afraid to experiment and try out different cards in the deck, so that you can form your own opinions about them. I'm not perfect. This is just the latest iteration of the deck that I found to work based on my playtesting. I've made many changes to the deck while climbing, depending on what I've been seeing opponents play, or based on the featured hot location. For example, I had Scarlet Witch and Cosmo in when Kamartaj was a featured location. I also had Onslaught in the deck for many games until I came to the conclusion that it was way overkill. Victory. Well, what are you waiting for? Go get snapping already. Subscribe for more, bye!